started with systems of equations.
Not even close enough.
We did substitution and elimination. Both of those strategies you will have to do at some point. So on the test, it will ask you, certain questions. You will have to do substitution, some by elimination. Really, I'll probably just make you do one each way, and then after that, you can pick your method. So do make sure that you're not only doing one thing on those. But all the problems we looked at yesterday, they were linear equations. And so our options were, we got one solution if the lines cross. We got no solution if they were parallel. And we got infinite solutions if they were the same line, right? But it doesn't have to be linear when we are looking at a system of equations. Okay, I could give you something like a parabola and a line. And if you're looking at a parabola and a line, how many times could those meet? They could meet 2 times, they could meet no times, or they could meet once, right? In this case, there'd be no solution. This one, there's only one. And this one, there's more than one. So if our equations are not linear, we can have multiple solutions. And it's not just a clear look at the equation and no, I'm going to get 2 solutions, or I'm not going to have any. We actually have to work it out. So that's what we're doing today, systems of nonlinear equations. Now, we have the same strategies as before, substitution and elimination. But you'll notice we have both an x squared and an x in here. Do you have any ideas what might be helpful?
Could you do negative 1 squared at the bottom?
We could just multiply by negative 1 and then eliminate. That would actually be good because essentially we almost have like 3 variables. We have the x squared term, we have an x term, and we have a y. X squared and x, since those are the same variable, we want to keep those. Let's get rid of the y's. So we could eliminate that. So if I multiply by negative 1. Now, when I go to add these, you can only add like terms. So x squared and negative x are not like terms. I can't actually add them. So it's just going to stay x squared minus x. The y's drop equals 6. So if we subtract over the 6, so we get x to equal 3. Okay, so I'm getting 2 ordered pairs. I need the y value for both of those. So instead of just having one thing to plug in, I need to do both. You can put them into either equation. I'll just do the second one.
Wait, so can we use both of those points?
So if I put in 3, subtract my 3, I get negative 2. So my first point is 3, negative 2. If I put in negative 2, add that over, and we get 3. So the second point is negative 2.
Are they always going to be inverses?
No.
See, I was hoping you say that.
Makes it a lot easier if they are. Alright, so, and then just like yesterday, you can check them. 3 squared is 9, plus negative 2 is 7. Negative 2 squared is 4, plus 3 equals 7, so they both work. Alright, so in this case, we had, the first equation was a parabola, the second one was a line, and we got 2 solutions. Is that okay with everybody? Look at this one.
Oh. They are the same.
Definitely uglier this time.
Yeah, there is.
Yeah, can't we already do elimination though? So if we do that, so 1x squared plus 2x squared is 3x squared. Positive y squared and negative y squared cancel. Equals 12. What would we have to do from here? Right, you have to get that x by itself. So before we square root, we have to divide. Okay, so when you add a square root, what do you need with it? So x can equal a positive or a negative 2. So we have to plug both of those in and get the y value for each. Can plug them into either equation if I did the first one. So we have 2 squared plus y squared equals 4.
Equals 0.
And since it's positive, you would have to do plus and minus, but positive 0, negative 0, that's the same. So we just get 1y. What do we get with this one? So my two answers are 2, 0, and negative 2, 0. Questions on that? We want. I'm gonna give you guys one to try. I'm gonna jump around for a minute. Why don't you guys try this one?
Try this one.
So this one was uglier because your answers weren't just real numbers. I'm assuming you guys all started out eliminating. It looked like most of you eliminated the y when I was walking around. Is that what everybody did? Okay, you can eliminate x. So if you want to eliminate x, you take the first one times negative 4. If you're eliminating y, you multiply by negative 3. So we get. So if we add those together, we get x squared equals negative 4. Square root plus and minus. What is the square root of negative 4? 2i. Okay, we're not just going to say no solution. We are going to go ahead and keep these imaginary solutions. So we have to plug them back in and find my y. So if you put in a 2i, you get 2i squared plus y squared equals 5. 2i squared. So if you take 2i times 2i, what do you get? 4i squared, which is negative 4. Okay, so if I add my 4 over, we get 9. Square root, I would have to do plus and minus again, so I get,
Wait, do you want 2 ordered pairs then?
what we're going to have here is actually 4 ordered pairs. So when I plugged in 2i, I got 2 possible answers. So I could have 2i and get positive 3, or I could have 2i and negative 3.
Can we just say plus and minus 3?
Go ahead and write them separate. Alright, if you plug in a negative 2i, what happens? Same thing. Negative 2i squared is 4i squared, or negative 4. So So y squared equals 9. So we again get plus and minus 3. So we have negative 2i 3 and negative 2i negative 3. Okay, so it is possible to have more than two solutions. Is that one okay? Let's do a couple more.
Oh, no. X squared plus y squared equals 3. Absolute value of x is 3 plus y.
So what, are you supposed to square?
Okay, let's talk about options here. We can't just eliminate on this one, can we? No. We cannot just go through and square each term. You would have to square the entire side of the equal sign, which is actually going to make it pretty ugly. So, what I would recommend is substitution. That's still an option for us.
Wait, why couldn't we do the whole bottom by negative 1 squared?
Well, because if you square, you'd have to do each side, and then you'd have to FOIL those, and we would get an extra term. So, this is horrible.
Did you see that? I was going in too.
Okay, so this absolute value makes things a little bit uglier. Let's isolate that. So if I subtract over my y, the absolute value of x is 4 minus y. What does an absolute value do? It makes it positive. What happens when you square something? It makes it positive. So could I just go ahead and substitute 4 minus y in for this x? Even though this doesn't have absolute value, we know once we square it, it's positive, so that's the same thing.
So full.
So we get 4 minus y squared plus y squared equals 16. So you are correct. We have to FOIL here. So I'm going to reorder this. I'm going to put my square term first, minus my 8y. If you subtract over the 16, what happens? So then how do we solve this?
Did you see it?
Oh, I dropped a y squared, didn't I? Thank you. Yeah, so we could take out 2y, and that would leave us with y minus 4. So then if we set each of those equal to 0, what makes 2y equal 0?
0.
And what makes y minus 4 equal 0? Alright. So we can plug these in either place. Let's say I just did it with the first one.
Oh, you couldn't put it at the bottom one?
Yeah, you can. So then to get rid of a square root plus and minus, so we get,
Plus minus 4.
so how would I write that answer?
4 comma 0, negative 4 comma 0.
If I plug in a 4,
0.
so we get 0, 4. You don't like what?
I do.
Alright, I would like to do
I think so.
one last problem.
No, it's a math X. L, 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 L.
Yeah, what happened?
Somebody altered my
Someone said
board.
Gmod.
Alright,
Yeah.
nice beautiful problem to
They
end.
literally cancel out.
A lot of
You
those.
should be a negative on the bottom?
Yeah.
No, just 3.
No.
You just should be moving.
And then just be, get rid of that.
Why
That'd
would
be 4, X 4. That'd be gone.
Oh, but this does not look good.
16.
Do something. You just have to cancel that.
Wait a minute.
You guys said multiply the bottom one by -1.
What else are you?
This gonna be no solution, bro. Feel it. Yeah, it is, but she's smart.
Okay,
What's more inconsistent?
x squared,
Consider it.
don't go too far ahead. X squared and -x squared,
4x1.
3xy plus 1xy is 4xy
Watch break cancels.
equals
16.
16. Okay. I can't. So if you divide, you get xy equals 4. That's not super helpful, but we have a couple different paths we could take from here. We could go ahead and solve for one of these variables. So if you divide it by x, that means y is 4 over x. And then what would you do? Plug it in to one of these two equations. Which one do you want to use? Second one?
Makes you wanna throw up.
So this one, we're using a combination of substitution and elimination.
Watch your math.
Okay.
That actually might be the nastiest conversation of my life.
So x times 4 over x, those would drop, so we have a -4, plus 4 squared is 16 over, alright. Not super pretty yet. Let's go ahead and bring over the 6.
Next, really not what I was thinking.
Yeah, I was thinking bring the 4 over.
No, I was thinking
Either
multiply
way.
it. Multiply by the x squared.
Okay, let's do that. So if we want to get rid of the fraction, easy option is just take everything times x squared. Minus 10x squared plus 16 equals 0. Yeah, this factors nicely. So x to the 4th breaks into x squared. What multiplies to positive 16 adds to -10. Okay. Almost there. So if we set those equal to 0, square root, plus and minus, how would you break down 8?
Just leave it.
Just leave it.
Just leave it.
I'd rather not. And then this one, we can't break down the square root of 2, so we have plus and minus the square root of 2. So how many answers do I currently have? 4.
But you would have.
So we need to plug those in, but thankfully we could just plug them in right here, so it's not going to be too horrible. Okay. So if I plug in 2 square root of 2, y equals 4 over x. Okay. Can you leave a square root on the bottom?
No.
So if you multiply that, you get 2 radical 2 over 2, or just what would happen if I plug in a negative for my x? it would, all that would change is
What did I
if this were negative, that's negative.
There's something to.
So my answer is just negative. So,
Yeah, thank you.
we plug in a square root of 2.
Or there's more.
Just make it one more.
So that one gives me 2 radical 2. And what happens if you make that a negative?
Sorry, did you just get negative 2?
Negative 2, right?
Alright, so that is about the ugliest problem I could give you right now.
Oh, we can right now.
Right now.
Enough with paper.
Okay. So I want you guys to try some on your own so we know where you're having trouble and you can ask questions. The assignment today, there is a 6-question handout posted on Classroom. So you've got the rest of the hour to work on that handout.
No, with activities.